Welcome to another episode of the Cow Lake Center for Effective Preaching Podcast. I am Tyshawn Gardner. I serve as the Associate Professor of Preaching at the George W. Truett Seminary. I also serve as the Assistant Director of the Cow Lake Center for Effective Preaching. I'm excited today to have our guest, Kelon Duke, an esteemed pastor, proficient, efficient, and dynamic preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. He's with us all the way from Miami. Kelon, it's very good to have you on the podcast.
Great to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
So I just want to dive right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a snapshot of bio and where you're from, childhood.
Yes, sir. So I was born in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
I moved to Miami, Florida at the age of 3. My dad got called to the New Jerusalem Primitive Baptist Church. And of course, that then shifted our family from Dallas to the Miami, Florida area. When I went there, I went with the cowboy boots and cowboy paraphernalia. So unfortunately, I'm a cowboy fan. It's kind of hard to admit that during this period.
That's two of us.
All right. Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. So you know my bird,
right?
My heart breaks. But yeah, so I'm an identical twin.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, identical twin, and I have one sister, and we grew up in the Miami area. I'm a lover of sports because obviously I'm in South Florida. So you asked me. I know I'm in Texas,
right?
So the Texas folk will tell you that this is the football mecca, but the Florida folk will tell you, and you from Alabama,
and I'm from Alabama,
so I know the tension of that. But yeah, man, so I grew up, I'm a church kid, obviously. My father's a pastor. Matter of fact, next year, he will be celebrating 40 years of pastoring that church as he retires on his 40th year.
Right.
And so I love sports. I'm a bike rider, cycle. I love to read. I love to watch movies. I'm a simple guy. So my first year of college, I went to a school called Morris Brown College.
Yeah, Atlanta.
In Atlanta. So here's how I went to Morris Brown. I went to Morris Brown because they were offering a twin scholarship.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So, but our dream was to go to Morehouse. So here's what I was taking classes at Morehouse because you're in the AUC. But I was enrolled at Morris Brown. I'm playing ball. Some of you may remember the movie that came out, the band movie that came out. I was there during that period.
Wow.
So I went to Morris Brown. Morris Brown got into some trouble after my first year, lost their accreditation. I ended up moving over to Morehouse my sophomore year. I was already taking classes there. And you know, the AUC Morehouse was one of the best I would say times of my life. It really gave me a lot of exposure, especially coming from a traditional kind of context, being that I was, a PK in a primitive Baptist home. And if you know anything about the primitive Baptists, we're very traditional. But Atlanta really opened my eyes to a bigger, brighter world. And so I met young men from across the country that really inspired me, right? And helped shape my theology too, because I had just started preaching when I went to school. And so that was really a perfect space to go to Atlanta. At that time, Atlanta, everybody was trying to get there. This is early 2000s. So I go to Morris Brown. I finish at Morehouse. I ended up going then after Morehouse to Howard. And one of the reasons I went to Howard, there was a professor who I was in love with. His name is Dr. Kane Hofelder.
Oh, yes.
So I met Kane. Legendary. So, you know, if you're into hermeneutics, you know that Dr. Felder, in New Testament period, he was somebody. And so I was like, man, I want to go study under him. I had a professor at Morehouse, Dr. Harold Bennett, who was similar, but he's always, man, you need to meet Kane Hope. And so I went to Howard. I was interested in going to Duke. I got accepted into Duke, and I got accepted into ITC and several other schools. I won't call them all. But went there enjoyed every bit of it. I love the DMV. That was some of the,
Right.
being at Howard and it was just amazing. So I left there, finished my MDiv, and then I went and did my DMin at United Theological Seminary. And I really wasn't interested in going to United, but I got a phone call from one of my brothers, Dr. Philip Pointer.
My good friend.
Yeah, so Philip Pointer calls me. He's like, Duke, man, we got to do this. I'm like, well, who gonna be the mentors? Gina Stewart and Dr. William Curtis.
Oh, you can't.
So I couldn't turn that down.
You cannot turn that down.
So I was like, let's go, let's do it. And those 3 years there were very special.
Right.
And so we'll talk about preaching influences, but if you know anything about me, I love Dr. William Curtis.
Yes.
And of course, Dr. Stewart.
Two of the nation's premier voices today and will be for a long time. I love them both. Different styles, but so effective and powerful. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your call story. When did you know you were called to preach?
So I knew I was called to preach probably at the age of 14. I sensed it. I'm in South Florida. I'm in Miami. There's nothing cool about being a young preacher at this time. I didn't have, and we didn't have any models or anybody to look up to, that were young, that were preaching at that time. And so I'm really struggling because I'm playing football at this time as well, and I'm really good.
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, let me focus on this. I really want to be a kid. I'm not trying to do that. I sense God. And then my twin brother, I think like 16, he decided to go. So I sensed it. He sensed it. And obviously he said yes. I'm like, nah, I'm definitely not going to do it now, because if I do, then they're going to say, well,
you're doing it because of him.
Brother, right? So I'm like, I don't want that on me. So I wrestled. And then my freshman year in high school, it was my sophomore year. My sophomore year in high school, I'm playing ball, and I am literally getting ready to start on varsity. I broke my shoulder.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I knew at that moment, the Lord would not let me sleep. Almost like, it seemed like 4:30 a.m. every morning, the Lord would wake me up during that period. Broken shoulder, can't play ball. And the message is clear. I will not allow you to do anything successfully until you say yes. And so I had this kind of Jonah experience, I guess. When I said yes, I'm gonna say this. I was thinking, and this may be sound crazy, but I was thinking that God was gonna let me off the hook after I preached one sermon. Like, that's the way I'm thinking of it. All right, okay, so I'll preach this one sermon and then you'll let me alone.
Right.
All right. So I preached that one sermon, man, and it had to be the worst sermon.
We all think that, right?
And I'm thinking nobody's gonna call me to preach ever again, right? And it just seemed like God just
open doors.
And then I would say I accepted my call at 17, but I got serious when I went to Morehouse.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Why was it then that you really started to get serious about it?
Yeah, mentors.
Yeah.
I was sharing, one of the reasons my father allowed us to go to Atlanta, because he was very overprotective. He's like, man, well, y'all just kind of, the first couple of years, kind of stay around here, prove yourself, get your grades solid, go to Miami-Dade Community College or whatever. It's like, man, we don't want to do that, all right? We want to go off, right? We had decent grades.
Right.
So, let us go, Dad. So we ended up meeting Dr. E. Dewey Smith. Right? So E. Dewey Smith is stuck in Miami because there's a snowstorm in Atlanta. We don't know this guy at the time. He's like mid-20s at this time. But he's, killing and making.
Right.
And he's a voice that you could tell is getting ready to go.
You could tell.
All right. And so there was a gentleman named Danny Thomas. Danny Thomas knew my father. He was just like, I need to get in touch with Kenneth Duke. Obviously, Dewey is stuck in town. Give me Kenneth Duke's number. So he calls my father. Father answers. It's like, you need to hear Dewey preach. Let him preach. And my dad was like, okay, here we go. Another preacher I need to hear again. We done heard of, preachers always got somebody up and coming, right? And my dad said he heard the voice of God say, give him the book. Those are his words. So Dewey preached, and him and his wife came to our church that Sunday, and they saw us and fell in love with us.
Wow.
And so he grabbed us, and we ended up going to Atlanta. And E. Dewey Smith was one of those who really inspired, watching him as a young man.
Yeah.
At that time.
Right.
Because he's 20, like 6 or something like that. He's young.
Right.
And I'm like, man, this guy's doing this. I'm in my teenage years.
Right.
But watching him and then watching Craig Oliver.
Yes.
I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Marlon Harris. These are some young cats who in Atlanta were just doing it. And I'm sitting there like, wow, here's the model.
Right. Right.
Here's the example of young cats who are taking the craft serious. And look at what they're doing.
Right.
They're making an impact, and they do it well.
And they do it well, and still do it well.
Yeah, right. So at that moment, and then you're meeting, younger guys on campus. You're in Atlanta.
Right.
So you're meeting young preachers. I can call several names of cats that we were in school with. At that time we're in Atlanta, so Bishop is closed. So
Bishop
my father went to Bishop. So y'all would have gone to Bishop at Bishop. So Morehouse to us looks a lot like Bishop.
Right. Right.
There are a lot of preachers there, and not just at Morehouse, but at Clark. Obviously, you got Morris Brown, and you have several schools in the area. And so you're meeting guys. One of the names that he's gone to be with the Lord, Quentin Barlow. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's from Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And Quentin was a preacher.
My.
He was a classmate of ours.
Okay.
And so Quentin also came to one of my football games. At least he came. He said, now, Reverend, you good, but you a preacher. And between him and Jasper Williams.
Yes.
Now, Jasper also took a liking to us.
Okay.
So Jasper's like, now, I know you playing ball, but you a preacher, Reverend. So it was a lot of that between E. Dewey, classmates, Quentin Barlow, Dr. Jasper Williams. All of that, being in that climate, really took my...
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a privileged climate. You're talking about icons,
Yeah.
legends, pastors and preachers who have impacted the nation, if not the world, right? Yeah. So along those same lines, so you are there any more preaching influences?
Yeah.
Your dad, E. Dewey, Jasper Williams,
Yeah.
any other preaching influences then and now?
Yeah. So I would say my father is my preacher, right? So I got to start there. My dad, the sincerity that he has, and the passion, a man who's devoted to prayer and actually lives the scriptures. And so he's my preacher. And I don't just say that because he's my father.
Right.
Elder Duke can go get it.
Okay.
He can really preach. And so I put my father. I think another one, probably right after that, would be William Curtis.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm a William Curtis.
He's a hard worker too, man.
Rare, man. Hard worker, man. I just love everything about Dr. Curtis, man.
Yeah.
The way he approaches the microphone.
Yeah.
How disciplined he is.
Yeah.
His diction and how he communicates. And he's just a great guy.
And he is.
So I would say him. I would say next would be Dr. Kelon Duke. She, I'm a manuscript preacher. So I've been, initially I thought, manuscript preaching is not something that folk really, they don't want to see you read. But watching Dr. Curtis and watching Kelon Duke
Right.
kind of really opened me like, wait, this, I can do this. We can go get this like this. Like,
Because
wow.
if you couldn't see them, you wouldn't really know.
Right, you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
It was like, Kelon Duke was probably, she was, I would watch her, we would go hear her preach, and she really opened my eyes, man, to really how to write.
Okay.
Like, I didn't know, they jot some notes down. I didn't know, that's what I did, we get some little points here and there, write them down. But man, she wrote that thing out, man, and it was clean, it was clear.
Right.
And she let me read a few of her manuscripts. I was like, wow. And then I met Bill, and Bill just had, I mean, you know him. I mean, he's just amazing. And so I would say him, her, Jeffrey Johnson.
Yes, yes.
So Jeffrey Johnson and my father they grew up together.
Bishop classmates, maybe?
They did.
Yeah.
They were. So my dad was there he came in with Freddie and Jeffrey Johnson, Dr. Freddie Haynes and Jeffrey Johnson. So they were all in the same class at Bishop College together. Pastor Jeffrey Johnson and my dad grew up in Indianapolis together.
Okay.
So they have been friends since they were boys. My dad started preaching first, and Jeffrey Johnson would go and hear my dad as a kid, and he was like a few years younger than my dad, maybe like 2, but smart, and we knew of him even growing up. But anyway, let me get to the point. Jeffrey Johnson illustrations. I just love, and I think Pastor Jeffrey Johnson is an amazing storyteller. I think, honestly, if on the average Sunday, I'm trying my best. It's a mixture of my father, Billy Curtis, Carolyn Ann Knight, and I would say Jeffrey Johnson.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So those are my top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the remaining time we have left, little time we have left, tell us a little bit about New Jerusalem Primitive Baptist Church in Miami.
Yeah.
What is the DNA, and how did you get there?
So I pastored a church when I left school, Howard, because I did my D-Min while I was pastoring in Chicago. So I went to a church in Glenwood, Illinois, right outside south side of Chicago, suburb, and kind of headed toward like Gary, Indiana. I was there for 7 years, pastored there, and the church was doing well. But I sensed that God was calling me back home to succeed my father. We had, got into some conversations, this is where I am. At the time, my stepmother was battling cancer. So my dad was in a space where he just couldn't, he was really ministering to her.
Right.
And so watching that and really sensing what I believe God was saying to me, the Lord said, go. And really, I'll be very honest with you, it made no sense for me to go because
you're leaving a senior pastor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a senior pastor. The church really is
Doing well.
going up. It's crazy. Honestly, and really the funny thing about it is the church was, I would say, maybe a little smaller than the church that my dad pastors. So technically speaking, depending on who you ask, this is a lateral down move. But I know the Lord said, let's go. And I just didn't understand it. But the Lord said, it's time. That's my church. You have done what you can do there. Now it's time to shift. So I made that shift in 2018.
Okay.
Went home. This church is a phenomenal church. It is Primitive Baptist, but really the worship and how we do ministry at this point, nothing about it is primitive.
Right. Okay.
It's primitive in name, but it's very progressive. It's got a large demographic of millennials and young adults, Gen Zs. And so we me coming back is obviously to hope bring that crowd and, do a little bit to disciple them. And so I come back and man, things are going well. I saw the hand of God initially, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And, so we, like many other churches, have had the opportunity to reimagine. What does it look like, So the same church that we had before, of course, COVID is a different church now. It is a total different church.
Oh, wow. All right. Brother, it's been a joy talking with you. Getting to know you, we could go on and on.
Yes, sir.
I look forward to seeing the hand of the Lord upon your life and what he's doing with you in South Florida.
Yes, sir.
And wish you all the best.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you for watching. Please keep tabs on Dr. Kelon Duke and what he's doing. We are blessed to have him with us. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.